tonight is an important one for us in terms of having people in the room that we think can contribute to the research and development phase of what is going to be an innovative project for UK. So we're not trying to recreate what exists already, we're trying to forge a new path and do so in such a way where we're concentrating on songwriting talent as opposed to necessarily the sort of performance and sort of, you know, broad showcase that goes with music, and possibly trying to get away from the ridiculous aspects of certain competitions that are available out there, you know, really kind of eviscerating people on live TV and things like that. That's not what we're about. We are truly trying to nurture what is one of the foundation elements, the cornerstones of the UK music industry, which is songwriting. So we actually already have a broadcast platform for online, so we have a capability to deliver to computers and to mobile, and that's, as I say, our ambition at the moment is to move beyond that into actual broadcast television platform, and we'll be offering fans of our audience the opportunity to click through and vote using the mobile platform that we already have in existence. And tonight is just about stating clear intention in terms of what we're doing here. We are at Lionbeat, we manage artists, we put on events, so we understand what the challenges that our songwriters that we look after face, and in terms of gaining an audience and just going on with their careers from the inception through to being established, the challenges that can come with that, the pressure, and those things that can really slow somebody's role or indeed end their career. We're trying to sort of create a format that considers those things carefully, but also, as I say, just predominantly focuses on brilliant songwriting. So I'm very pleased to be able to hand you over to my business partner, Patrick, who looks after our research and development at Lionbeat, and our panel tonight for what should be an interesting and engaging discussion. I do encourage you to take part, and yeah, let's kick it off.
Yeah, mate.
All right, thank you.
Thanks, Stacey. So yes, I'm Patrick. I am also a partner at Lionbeat and a consultant producer now on RVL Music. And tonight we have an incredible panel that we've put together to represent, first of all, songwriters. Our main priority for this contest is, of course, songwriting and the songwriters that create this music and this art for us to move forward with. And tonight we have Eska, who has just released her debut album. She's an incredible songwriter, and we're very, very pleased to have her on the panel tonight. So she's going to introduce some of the conversation, and it is a conversation. This isn't a debate between different people. These are, you know, different elements of songwriting industry and the music industry who can come together tonight to help develop this conversation and to start on the right foot as we mean to go on, focusing on incredible music and new and original music. So Eska will be starting off, and we have also Rob Louis from True Thoughts Records and Forethought Publishing to cover some of the intricacies of that aspect of the music business, and of course GoldieRocks Sam over there in the corner, who is an international broadcaster for The Selector, which is a syndicated show, I think, to 54 different countries now. So we've put this panel together as a way to, again, like I said, start the conversation, and then of course we'd like to open it up to you lot all as well. So the format really is just to spend half an hour, 45 minutes engaging with the panel, and then, like I said, I am here to facilitate. I'm not a chair, this isn't a debate, so I do encourage you to kind of get involved, bring forward your experiences, your inspirations, your contributions, and any questions later on this evening. So with that said, thank you again, and Eska, if you don't mind, to get us started.
Oh, maybe not.
Should warn you about that.
Keep this. Yeah, my name's Eska. I'm an artist and a singer and a songwriter and producer, and I've been writing for many years and in lots of different styles, lots of different genres. And as a songwriter, I guess I'm reflecting not the kind of mainstream. So I think that there will be maybe slightly different opinions and ideas to mine in terms of my career trajectory and my ideas about what songwriting is about for me. So I can only speak from my own personal experience. And when I was looking at my long list of do this, don't that, but actually it's not do this, don't that. It's actually more me sharing with you some of the things that I've done and in my route into songwriting and trying to navigate my songwriting career. I guess one of the first things is finding people to work with and knowing your audience. And so I would finding that trustworthy set of ears that actually can give feedback to songwriters is really vital, and we can't kind of stay in a bubble forever with our songs and our ideas. At some point, we need to soundboard those with people. And getting that right person or the right team of people who can actually give us some feedback can be quite difficult sometimes. Funny enough, my sister, who is not a songwriter, in fact she works for the Crown Prosecution Service, but she's got a great pair of pop ears. She's really great. And she's absolutely fabulous person, but actually kind of playing a song too. She'll give it to me straight. So she's my kind of regular Joe Punter ears, And then there are some more kind of industry professionals, not too many in that arena, that you find that the right person for the kind of writing that you're doing or that you're embarking on, who can give you feedback. And when I say all of that, even when I've done that, there are times when I ultimately have had to trust my instincts. And when I think of my recent release, there's a song that opens the record that actually people weren't sure about, even the person that I was collaborating with. And even at the point of the production, we still wasn't sure about it. And I just had to hang in there real tight with my conviction, Because sometimes even the industry professionals aren't necessarily going to get it right. So I think it's good to have a variety of people. It's been invaluable for me to have a variety of people to kind of soundboard things off of. When I think of Quincy Jones not being able to recognise the genius of Billie Jean, he's like, where's the chorus? Or whatever, to Michael Jackson. That, and Michael having the courage of his conviction with that song. No, there's a song here. I think that's really powerful for the songwriter to own, to have that kind of conviction. I also have a friend who's really quite fun, another fellow songwriter who he calls me up when he's written a song, sends me an MP3, and then I'll tell him my opinion. I've been doing this for years, and I know it's just not because he's going to listen to me. He just wants someone else to hear his music. And I know he's not going to listen to anything I say. And he's like, oh, really? You think that? Oh, yeah, I think maybe you could. Well, I think it's great. And then off he goes. That's also really good, and that's also something powerful. As long as you've got your confidants and those people who are ultimately encouraging and empowering, and enable you to feel encouraged enough to continue songwriting. It is a long road. It is not a race. It's a long road, and to have supportive people in there and to create your own personal bespoke network of people is really, really important. Anyway, I was never in a rush to get a publishing deal, and it's certainly something for me. Again, it's just a matter of opinion. Personally, I don't think it's about getting a publishing deal. I've seen other fellow songwriters think that it's about getting a publishing deal, and then they got a publishing deal, and that was it. And actually, the songwriting career didn't actually get enhanced by getting a publishing deal. They got a bit of money, and it maybe bought them a bit of time, paid the rent for a year or two, but after that, the money ran dry, and no one was still listening to their songs, So the sad and harsh reality is that it doesn't necessarily, getting the right publisher, getting the right person to understand your music and work your songs, work your catalogue of your body of work, who really believes in you as a songwriter, that takes time to suss out who might be a good person. I've been fortunate in the sense that, you know, on my road, because I do a lot of collaborations and I write with other artists and for other artists. I've worked with several publishers, you know, and so it's kind of, it's been nice to sort of not have to dip in, but not sort of sign anything, and just kind of get a feel from working and collaborating with other people. I'm really into and all for collaborating if that's your thing. If you can, I think you'll learn a lot from. You can learn a lot from that. Yeah, knowing it's a long game, and try as hard as you can not to be watching your successful contemporaries with too much envy. Because sometimes, unfortunately, you know, it ends up being kind of, oh, gee, so-and-so got to, do you hear how much so-and-so got? You know, they're publishing, I need to, right, and then so you start working. The worst thing is to start working towards, remember, if your goal is to be a songwriter, that's it. I just want to be a great songwriter. I want to write great material. Let it be that, full stop. If then it ends up, I want a publisher to realise that I'm a great songwriter so they can give me some money. It's going to influence the way in which you write. And I'm not necessarily saying that that's a bad thing, because money's good, right? It's helpful, yeah? That's a good thing. However, I think when your audience becomes the industry exclusively, and not about your art, and about actually you're saying, okay, I want to do something of worth here that I think is valuable, something that's interesting or unique or whatever, then sometimes that can shape your creativity in a way that might be detrimental to really to you as a creative. And you know, my heart is for for all songwriters to really fully express themselves creatively, you know, their maximum, you know. And I think if people were doing that and are aiming for that, I think we'd have even more of a variety of songwriting styles and production styles, as opposed to it sort of kind of narrowing down to everyone trying to get, you know, the same thing. So it's a big world, and there are lots of opportunities to be had as a songwriter, even if you're not a singer. I happen to sing and write. And there are lots of people to write for, to write to write with. And finding though that right group, sometimes it's hit and miss. I don't know how many production units I've written in, or collabs that I've done with other producers or songwriters. Some have worked for a moment, some have absolutely been awful and they've been a disaster. Some have worked for a season, and sometimes those collaborations can be for a season, and enjoy that season. When it's done, it's done. There's nothing you can do about it, you know. But you know when that season's done with a particular collaboration. And so I would, you know, for me, I've been encouraged by getting to collaborate with other producers and other songwriters. I've been encouraged by writing for artists. You know, to be honest, there's a big aspect of songwriting that feels more like kind of psychotherapy than anything else when you're in the studio with other people. And it can be massively entertaining, let me tell you now. I love my job. Hashtag. Yeah, I do. I love my job, you know. But the creative endeavour isn't, you know, in terms of kind of what your objectives are and the outcome, it has to be, first of all, about the creativity. For me, it has to be about that and the integrity there. And then from there, we can try and find. I think, you know, as there's a saying in songwriting: song is king. You know, song or queen. You know, song is king. You know, you can't mess with a good song. You just can't. You can't trouble a good song. You can't disagree with that. Having said that, sometimes songs don't get found immediately. You know, I find it really interesting when, you know, At Last, Etta James' At Last. Apparently, when that was first released, it went in at 58 in the charts. Can you believe that? At Last, 58 in the charts. How the heck did that? But you know, it took what, you know, how many years later for that to be re-released, reissued, and then suddenly it's in the top 10 or whatever, number 1 or whatever. And people, you know, so sometimes it's just, you know, what you're creating might not be in the zeitgeist, the music zeitgeist of the moment, you know, or you might be in the wrong place, or the song might be in the wrong place. But a song can have its time, and it might not necessarily be in the immediate. So there's an aspect to songwriting that is about legacy, and that's about patience, and that's sometimes about putting something to one side and coming back to it and revisiting it another time. And when the time's right, it is worth finding a publisher to help you with your catalogue, to help make sure things are registered properly. Because no matter how much I say, yeah, I'm going to do that, and you know, yeah, I'm going to register it properly, and I'm yeah, make sure it's registered on PPRS and on PPL and all those things. Often we just, sadly, as artists, we just get lazy with all that sort of thing, and we just don't do it, and things get left by the wayside. Or when you're collaborating, you think that the other person's done it because it was their gig, and then they don't put your name down on so you can get receiving royalties on this song for years, you know, extra. But you know, these things can happen just because, you know, we do need the professionals in who can help us coordinate our catalogue and make sure that ultimately it's being worked as well as possible, internationally, hopefully. Yeah, work that. I think when you get to the point of looking for your publisher, think of that and that person that you can collaborate with in that way, more than the amount of money that publisher is going to give you. Because in the end, you're going to want a career out of this. That's if songwriting is your primary objective. So yeah, song is king. Hail all songwriters. And thank you for listening to me. Thank you for that.
The discussion tonight is framed by the question of how to best equip and advise contemporary songwriters. It's been so present in my mind that I was almost hesitant to introduce it, and I do take responsibility for that. So Eska is obviously answering that question in a way to kind of open up the discussion about equipping and advising songwriters in today's world. So now we obviously have some other panelists, and we're going to kind of tackle that question amongst ourselves. So I don't know if either of you...
Go for it.
I suppose from my side, I'm coming from the record label and the publishing side, so we are the bit where we hopefully work in the business side. So I'm going to be biased on that side. I think we're great, and we're very passionate about all the artists that we work with, but genuinely we are. And I think listening to Eska there, I think the biggest thing about what I do as the label A&R is I'm actually trust the artists more. I always say to them, I'm not the executive producer of your music, don't make a record for me. Often the worst music that we've ever got from artists, and it's not terrible, it's the one where I get that call and they say, I think I've done something that'll be really good in an advert or a film, and it's never in an advert or a film, it's always the other track that they love, but they think, oh no, it's a bit quirky, this one, let's try it, let's put it out there. So I think that's the one thing, is that balance of, I would say, you've really got to do the music that you're into. The world that we're in, we're not in the major label world, we're not trying to compete with pop artists, we're trying to compete. Our world is just artists who are making music because they genuinely want to make music. But what we found within us as a label and a publisher is people who work within film and work within TV and work within advertising companies actually come to us to use the music because they're hearing something special in there. They're hearing the soul of the music, whether it's an instrumental or whether it's a vocal track. And our music gets used at like incredible amount, and there's actually a lot of income out there, and that's something you should be looking for with the publisher, someone who is connected. And Eska, what you said about being that international connections, we've got lots of sub-publishers across the world, and for us there's sub-publishers who've offered us big advances to work our catalogue, but we've looked at them and we've thought, well, you've got so much music there, do you really understand the music that we're doing? And we know they'll collect the income, but then we've often gone with smaller people who we know they're really hungry to get their music in the right people's hands, and they know all our rights and they know what we're about as a label. And I think, we as an indie label, that's my bias, is we can't afford to give the big budgets that major labels can, but often what I've seen is, someone like Bonobo, who we signed for no advance, for no money whatsoever, we made an incredible amount of money really for an indie label, for an artist like that. We managed him and he signed to Ninja, and we were a stepping stone for him to go on to somewhere else. And I'd shout the cause for indie labels. If you find somebody, even if it's one person, but they're really passionate and you think this person's going to work hard for you, sign a short-term deal with them and say, look, let me see, you're going to promise me this. When we signed Bonobo, he had, there was a lot of interest for him at the time, and XL offered a deal to him. And it wasn't a lot of money. And I said to him, look, for XL, this isn't a lot of money. I'm not sure they're really going to work this for you. And I said, look, I'm really passionate. Please give us a shot at doing it. And he was really loyal, and he did. But we sort of showed, look, you know, he trusted us to do what we did. And I'd say if you can find the right person to do that, that's a really good thing to achieve. And for me, in that world where Eska is as well, we're just about the creative. If you are competing in the pop end of things, my advice would always be, well, you've got to take that gamble. You might get a 50 grand publishing deal, and that will be the last money you'll ever see in the music industry. It could be. Whereas if you work with someone who you might get 10 grand a year for the next 30 years, which is £300,000. You know, it's actually a lot. And if you did that 10 grand a year, and then you're co-writing with someone, you're getting other royalties, or performing if you're an artist performing, you can actually make a living from music. And that's what we've got within the label. We've got lots of our artists who actually make a living from music. Some, you know, got their deposits for their flats and their houses. Some, you know, just turn over, they can pay their rent, but they're comfortable. They're not having to get another job as well. So I suppose that's the balance you've got to try and figure out and make with your art. That's what I'd say. So.
Yeah.
So Rob, in terms of your advice then, I mean, you pulled out the point of getting people to work your catalogue for you, but, you know, we live in a world in which people are often encouraged to do it themselves, you know, the DIY music industry in terms of people being out there. So taking that step, how would you advise people to kind of negotiate those initial engagements with publishers?
I mean, my view, again, I'm biased because I run a label, but if you're an artist and you're a good artist, be the artist. I wish I could sing like Eska. I wish I could write tunes like Conte, but I can't. So you should find someone who's passionate but loves the music and wants to work in. I think that's the thing. As an artist, they've got such a hard job as it is. You know, all the pressure's on them. You know, all the pressure's on them. And to me, it's like, do you want to be filling in forms? I mean, we have someone who works full time doing all the sync side for us within our office, and a big chunk of his week every week is filling in forms. Saying people, you know, let me know the new songs that you've done. It's admin work, and I would say for the percentage that you're giving away, to have someone work that for you, it's a better use of your time potentially. That's, you know, my view, because I always think if you give away 50% and someone's working that for you, then, and you're not having to do so much, or 25% or 30%, whatever the publishing deal, that's a better thing. Because as an artist, do you really want to be the business person 24/7? And I don't think the reality when all those people say do it yourself is they've always got a well-known manager and an office running things. They might be the face pretending they're doing, but they're not picking up the phone at 9 in the morning, clearing a sink. Or often what happens, Trevor in our office will get a call on a Saturday from America, we need to clear this sink, and he'll call me up and I'll go, look, yeah, that'll be all right, and we'll negotiate. We're doing that on a Saturday night, you know, sometimes.
Yeah.
The artist might be doing a gig then, and then they're losing out on, you know, £20,000, you know, that's the world. That's what
And I think to observe as well, like seeing, you know, indie bands that are still quite lo-fi, or just that's where they struggle, like psychologically more than anything else. You can't do everything. And so DIY culture of maybe you're like, okay, well, I'm going to record it at home in my bedroom. That's one thing. That's deep, like DIY creativity. But something like being on emails all day and then freeing your mind up to write and then tour, it's just not. It's too much. Too much for anyone. Have a cup of tea.
And in terms of the influence that you might take from those people, though, once you've made that initial relationship, in terms of people trying to mould, it's one of the key differences I think in our conversation tonight is, you know, how to equip and advise, and where's the line between equipping songwriters and manufacturing them? You know what I mean? I mean, it is about an integrity and about a kind of commitment to your art, you know. So how do you go about it?
I don't know if you can manufacture a songwriter, an artist maybe, but not songwriting. I don't know. You know, it's a craft that really.
Where do songs come from?
Well, I like to think they come from the sky. They're just there. You just got to pick them out. You've got to catch them. You know, they're pesky little things. You think you got it, and then they just sort of slip out your hand. You know. You know, so it's wonderful. It's wonderful, kind of catching the songs out of the sky. That's how it feels to me. That's a feeling of it. But I'm not sure. Well, I haven't seen it possible to make someone be able to write a song well and continuously do that. It's for me it feels like a calling. You know, it's a craft that I love to hone and work on over and over again, and to a large extent one has to be incredibly self-motivated to keep doing it. the motivation that you have to have is enormous, I think, you know, because you're at the end of the day there is a lot of having to face oneself in you know with a song, and constantly asking yourself questions about it, you know. Obviously it's different when you're writing in a team and that kind of thing. And there's a lot to be learned from writing in teams, which I love, especially learning to compromise. When you think you've got the chorus and then someone actually comes up with a better chorus. Yeah, that was a better chorus. You know, and it's a lovely feeling as well, because to me anyway, I love that feeling of, you know, you have to be really humble in that kind of setting to kind of go, you know, that was a better lyric, that was a nicer turn of, okay, I said it like that, and then you just changed a little. Yeah, actually it was better, you know, that's good. And it's sort of learning to negotiate and get better with other people. So you can learn from other songwriters and working in teams, definitely. But there has to be something there to start with, you know. I think the thing being that nurturing that out of people, because you know, I've done a lot of education work and around songwriting, and it's been, it fascinates me, especially, you know, you get a group of young people, and often, and being a singer, somehow the singer just assumes the role of the songwriter. Just historically, that's sort of what, oh, you sing, so you must write. That's not, it's not true at all, you know. Just because you sing doesn't mean that you can write a song. But the funny thing is, you'll get the sort of quiet, mousy one who hasn't got much of a voice, and they've got amazing ideas, and they don't realise it. Actually, that's it. You've the idea. Yeah, but I'm not the singer, and it doesn't matter. You're giving us the stuff. You've got so it's coaxing it out of a young person, coaxing and nurturing the songwriter. Because often I think some people aren't even aware of it as a gift that they have and as a skill that they have, and being able to nurture that in people. I think there's that, but there's something innate in there already. There has to be something there already. I think.
Sure. I think also what I've noticed within the label is as we put out music, the artists have improved as the music is out there, and you know there's praise that comes, but there's also criticism with any music that you put out, and often that can give them their confidence. That one, they'll always remember that one, you know, someone on a forum, right? Something it's like, you know, it's selling loads, it's been reviewed loads, you know, getting radio play, and someone with a false name on a forum is saying, but you know, it's actually getting your music out there.
I hate you, Cat 29, Wolverhampton. Yeah.
But getting your music out there is a really good way, I would say. Don't keep it on your computer and put it out there, put it up on SoundCloud, and you know, just get that music and get that feedback. I think is a really big thing, and away from people you know as well. I think that's an important thing. Yeah,
it's true, because I had to be like, oh, I'm going to showcase in front of my friends just to start with. I'm like, don't start with your friends. Like, that's the first audience. They're not going to tell you the truth. They're going to go, it's great, man, you did so well. Don't start with your mates. End with your mates. That's why on a tour you end in your hometown. You don't start with your hometown. You know, so it's like the same thing with songwriting. You know, I think you go and find those. You know, it's great to find those places where, you know, you feel like a fish out of water. Those singer-songwriter nights. I've done those. You know, where you don't know anyone and you feel really quite nervous, and it's such a thrill. You know, to be in a room where people don't know. And then you're going to really know whether your song or your singing was worth anything, you know? You're going to know by the people's responses, and I think being able to allow yourself to be critiqued, you know, and not keep watching the thumbs down on YouTube.
Say, don't mind me asking a question.
Yeah, go ahead, mate.
If, you know, I design for a living, you know, so I've got a creative streak, and I'm sat on my piano all evening, and I think I've come up with a half decent song. Right, in my mind anyway. What should I do then? Because I'm not going to go from having a half decent song to having a publishing deal overnight. So what are the key things you'd say to do? I can get a SoundCloud account and put it up there, and be on Reverb Nation and do stuff on there. I can email it through to the medium, to DJs, and hopefully one of them will read it and listen to it. What are the things you would say that you would advise to that woman or that person, you know, you're giving advice to, who's got a great idea?
Yeah.
What should you do?
Well, I would say to them, first of all, one song does not a career make, you know, in songwriting. you need a body of work. So, you know, yes, it's great when we have those, you know, someone has a eureka and they've written something and that's great and they can put it up on SoundCloud, but, you know, you'll go to someone's SoundCloud and there are 2 tracks up there, that, you know, that's not going to really tell you very much. You know, that's not enough musical information to know whether someone, you know, what really someone's saying. So, first of all, it's, you know, getting a body of work, getting material, and enough to be able to, for an individual to be able to look and listen back and have a sense. I also, the way in which it's presented is going to be a big deal, you know, particularly if you start thinking about the next level of kind of an industry level. You know, we talking, I'm going to just play it on my guitar and put it on Logic and then put my vocal on, or get a friend to come vocal, or am I going to then go and find someone who might help me go in the studio, an engineer who's going to help me sort of give it a bigger production, sort of, you know. So it very much depends on the, you know. But again, as I still think that, you know, for me, I mean, I love SoundCloud and I love MySpace, because for me, the gems that you find on there that are really unpolished, you know, really super unpolished, but only another songwriter's going to even hear it. Sometimes even A&R people won't be able to hear it because it's really too rough, you know. But there's something in it, you know. So I think it's definitely a great place to store music. But knowing that SoundCloud don't pay anything, by the way, you know, so this is anyway. That's
chime in there. I mean, there are collaborative platforms, and new ones keep coming along, and they keep getting better. Where you can say, do you know, I've written a bit of a feel. I've got like 4 bars or 8 bars. I need somebody to come in and start helping me develop this. And you can be doing that with people all over the world. There's new ones that keep coming along. You know, there's a new one that name which I can't remember, but it sounded awesome, and it's, you know, you can do it all on your phone, and it will be a proper recording. And going back to what you were saying about collaborations, you find that you've written a song with somebody in Croatia. Well, then they can come and play with you over here, and you can go and play over there, and kind of get that kind of thing.
I'd be interested to throw it over to Sam.
Yeah.
Because, you know, you're that next step as well in terms of people sending stuff to the selector, which might be a bit unpolished or whatever. How open are you to kind of putting it out there?
Well, I guess here I stand with sort of sits with 2 hats on, as it were. So my first hat is what we talked about, the selector. And for people that haven't heard this show, so we're one of the world's most syndicated new music radio shows. We're funded by the British Council in over 44 countries on FM around the world. So proportionally, our listenership is huge. But it's really liberating for me because I pick all the music and there are no rules. The only rule being funded by the British Council is that it has to be made in the UK. So we can play a thrash metal record next to a jazz record, deep house, techno, indie rock, whatever. So it kind of opens me up to be like a blonde John Peel, if you will. So, and that's really exciting. And I can really play what I want. And that's quite rare on a radio platform, that you can play a 9-minute track or a track is just the most obscure avant-garde thing out there. So I sit here with one hat on being like, yeah, go out there, be wild, create a 12-minute track and send it in and I'll play it. But that, in reality, it probably won't get played on any other station. You know, and the other hat that I sit on is I do lots of sort of music presented with Capital FM and Capital Extra, and that's a very different kettle of fish, and they're looking for the hits. They're going to look for the music that the kids download and goes to #1 in 2 minutes, and it's very disposable. You know, it's very disposable music. It's not about music that you're necessarily going to remember in 10 years, but God, you loved it for that summer. So let's sort of focus on the selector stuff, because, you know, I really concur with these guys, is that what do you want? Do you want that hit? Do you want to be the cool cat for the summer and make quite a lot of money? Or do you want a career spanning 30 years as a musician, as a creative? And I urge you to do the latter. I think as a songwriter, you should sort of strive to be an all-round creative. Strive to just enjoy it and let it soak through your blood and let it take over everything you are. So be a songwriter, be a collaborator, be a producer. And you can't be all things to all men, if that makes sense. So just strive to make something that's really innovative and unusual, and find that new genre and find that new sound, And sometimes that does mean creating loads of crap first, but then you'll get there eventually. And I guess it's sort of being brave enough and innovative enough to do that. I think sort of if I look over like, you know, my favourite artists in the whole wide world, people that I always go back to no matter what mood I'm in, no matter where I am in the world, what energy, it's people that in the whole scheme of things aren't that well known. They're not Katy Perry's, they're not Taylor Swift's or Elvis Presley's, they're David Kumu of The Invisible, and they're Jamie Woon, and they're Fortet, and people like that. And that's the music that just really sits with you and soaks into your every being, you know? So I say, try and be an artist like that, don't be Taylor Swift. What was your question?
Yeah, the question was about that kind of refinement process of songwriting.
Yeah.
But you raised that the question of what it means to have a trajectory as a career of 30, 40 years. You know, the demands that can take on somebody. You know, I was reading actually about Sly from the Family Stone, who ended up sleeping in his van in Los Angeles because he didn't have enough money to get home and things like that. You know, people who put out a lot of bodies of work who, you know, been unfortunate enough to have people use their work and then not get money for it in terms of sampling and like hip hop records and stuff. So the kind of personal demands that long journey can have on people. You know, this isn't just about careers. These are human beings, people who have to, you know, survive and prosper. You know, and the kind of demands that can go into the entertainment industry, whether that's touring or the types of drugs and substances that go along often with a lot of music scenes and stuff like that, the kinds of emotional and personal aspects of what it means to be a songwriter. I don't know if Eska, you can kind of speak on what it means to try and take on board those qualities of what it means to be a songwriter, to speak to those responsibilities that you have to look after yourself within those kind of those industries, really.
Very hard. It's really hard because, you know, while you're trying to find your team, your support network, those people who can be kind but be honest and remain supportive, it can take a while to find that support network for you for what you're trying to achieve, and that network will change at each level that you're working at. You know, it can be a really lonely road. That's how it's been for me. Quite, you know, it can be quite lonely. You might not, you know, an artist like me, it's not like I've had masses of media attention on me straight from the get-go, or, you know, had a whirlwind courtship with Uber management or Uber labels. Do you know what I mean? It's not been that road for me. So what do you do when you're not necessarily got all eyes on you in that way, but you still feel compelled to do what you do? I think that compulsion is such a sacred thing, and to have the right people around you to help guide and support and nurture what you do and encourage you ultimately. You know, when Sam's mentioning people like David Akumu, you know, who's a dear brother to me, and kind of came up musically together and have remained incredibly supportive of each other, even if there may be more distance as we get busier, but still kind of clock in with each other just to check how we're doing creatively as well as personally. You know, I think if you're just creating in a vacuum, it's going to be very, very hard. And I want to go back to your question there, because I think for that person who's just started out and you're beginning and you create something, you're thinking, oh, this is really interesting. And again, it's that, you know, at some point you're going to have to find someone who knows a bit more than you about that world, who can help give you some input and guidance maybe in terms of next steps, because it's going to be different for every person depending on what stage in their career they are at. But we need people to support us. That's just, you know, and they can come in all shapes and sizes. And again, they might be just for a season. In terms of health, this is the music business. This is the most unbalanced. I can't. You know, if I'm going to pretend and say that, yeah, there's a way of like being really balanced. It's not balanced. Yeah, it's not balanced. It's never going to be
It
balanced.
encourages you to be unbalanced.
And
It doesn't want you to be
so
balanced.
I'm not going to pretend here that there's some way in which you can be. I think that, you know, anyone in this industry is slightly unhinged anyway. You know, so you got to be slightly unhinged as a creative. You don't have to be, but you are. Anyway, you are. If you don't know it, you to want to do this thing anyway. So I think I'm talking to a room full of unbalanced people anyway. So it's not, you know, just in terms of minimising the impact of this industry on you. Again, it comes down to your social network and those people who can be honest with you when it's like, look, you need to take some time out, or people who can be honest with you about where you're at in terms of your mental and emotional health as well as your creative health. That's, yes.
Sorry, finish.
No, that's, yeah.
In regards to what you were saying about just the honesty, and Patrick, you kind of touched on this, on the honesty that a songwriter has. When it came to the collaborations that you did,
Yeah.
how did you sort of decide? Actually, it's a two-part question. First question is, how honest did you feel you could be in those collaborations?
If you want to make money, you got to be honest. Yeah, like that's a pragmatic one. It's no point trying to stroke someone's ego when they've written a rubbish song. Because you're going to get you're going to get 50% or whatever of something that's rubbish, and you know it. So it's pointless. Pointless pretending it was any good, you know. So there is a part of it that you have to sort of develop a bit of an ego as a songwriter, okay, and a sense of integrity, as well as negotiation skills with artists that you're working with who've got their egos, you know, and all of that goes on. But if you're not going to be honest, you're not going to eat. I don't, you know, it's pointless. There's that.
Does that go for the vulnerability that you have when you write as well? Or, you know what I mean?
Sorry, it does.
Does that go for the vulnerability that you have when you're writing as well?
Yeah, well, yeah. I mean, in terms of writing for myself or writing
with other people, I mean.
Yeah, because you know, I'm also, if I'm able to give it, I'm gonna have to be able to receive it. You know, if that collaboration is going to be any good. You know, like the best collaborations I feel that I've had, where we've been really low down, dirty, honest, but we're really quick to recover. It's like you just get over it really quickly, and you have because you have faith in what that person's saying, that you have a trust enough that it's not personal, okay? It's just about a song, you know. It's not talking about your mum. It's just the song that you're writing, and no, the chorus is not working. You know. And it, you know, it has to work both ways. And I think when you can get relationships fostered like that, it can be super powerful, like unbelievably powerful. But I think a lot of us, it's difficult getting there with people. It's really, really hard. Really, really hard. I have to say, I have to throw in the gender thing, because it can be interesting.
We have tried to create a gender balance here on the panel. That was a conscious decision, so go ahead, sis.
You know, that in terms of, you know, being a woman in the studio environment and being not only taking ownership as a songwriter, but as an arranger, as a producer. Dare you be called a producer as a woman?
Yeah.
Forget that. All you mentioned was a hi-hat. You're not a producer. Anyway, you don't even know what's going on in Logic. You're not a producer, you know. It's all that kind of stuff that you have to overcome and take ownership of the fact that, yeah, actually, I have got these skills and I need to pipe up a little. And interesting enough, when you know, again, when in teaching position role, when I've seen, you know, the kind of the interplay with, you know, men and women in this sort of songwriting, it's just, the girls are so wet, honestly. I have to say, I'm sorry, they're just so wet. And you know, and I'm just like, come on, girls, get in there. You know? And you know they've got ideas, but, you know, because the boys will just pick up the amp and they just get in. They just get in. They don't even know what they're doing, but they just get in, you know. And you want the girls to just, you're not going to get yours if you're just going, oh, yeah, right. I'll just sing it after you sing it. You know, we get relegated to singer, you know, and which is not, shouldn't be that, you know. So I think it's, you know, that's, you know, women pipe up and embrace your, take ownership of your ideas and your skills and explore and experiment. You have the right to.
It's interesting what you're saying, because it's kind of like I do work, like broadcasting workshops with aspiring presenters and music journalists and stuff like around the world, and it's the same phenomena around the world. And I think that's actually just like the psychologically sort of situation we have at the moment, which will come and it will change. But we just need to learn to let people be more open.
Yeah.
And it's kind of like, it's not that these girls aren't capable,
No.
and it's not that like every woman on the world is shy, and it's just, we need to change the way,
The culture,
we
right?
need to change the culture of like how people work together on the platform. And I think psychologically women they don't bounce back as well when one of their ideas is dismissed, you know? Whereas guys will just be like, all right, it's not personal, it's just the idea, we're going to get on with it, let's move forward. Whereas women do take that personally, but you know, we've come a long way in the last 50 years, and we just need to be pushing that. But it is something that I think people need to respect and be aware of, and just, you know, force this change, keep forcing the change.
It's so true. And I have to be honest, it's been harder to write with women than men. Sorry. Collaborate.
That doesn't mean it has to be.
It doesn't have to be, but it's just that thing of, it gets a bit too personal, too big for me, you know, that bouncing back thing. I think, you know, we have to work on that.
Yeah. Take charge of it.
Yeah.
And before I kind of bring it back to the floor, really, to sort of kind of bring a conclusion to this, thank you for bringing up that important topic. I have a couple of questions just to kind of conclude, really. The one key question that is a sort of spanner in the works here is would you advise people to quit the day job?
We've had someone early on in the label where we signed them and he quit his job. And I was like, what? I was so shocked. And you know, that it is crazy that people do that. And we do, with all the upcoming artists that we sign, we just tell them, you've got to keep working. Bonobo was working when we signed him, Quantic was working when we signed him, Alice was working when we signed her. It actually takes the pressure off.
Yeah.
Because the artists that don't do that, the ones who are like, I need every penny, they're making those decisions, they're doing that gig that's the wrong gig, or they're doing a remix that's the wrong artist to be remixing, or a performance with the wrong person. And those ones who have that work and look, my rent's paid this month, I've got food, they've just take the pressure off themselves a little bit to do that.
And you can smell that a mile off.
Yeah.
Like you can smell it when you go to a gig and you're like, oh God, this person's just so desperate to, or they're meeting you and they're just so desperate to get played on the show, and it's just like, do you even know what I play? Like, it's kind of like, you wouldn't fit in at all. Like, this isn't right, you know, but it's kind of like, just have conviction in your work. Make the best work that you want to create, and just hang on to that tooth and claw as long as you can. Because at the end of the day, even if you don't become a success, God, you know that you made good work and that was like an honest slice of your soul, and like that you can take that to your grave. You know, you meant what you said.
It's an ego thing. Like it's hard. You know, it is difficult, but it can be hard if you're doing a waiting job or working in an office. But it's better for you in the long run as an artist, as I say, because you're really going to appreciate it. When you make that transition, you can see, I saw that with Bonobo and Quantic, they, all right, I'm making a living from music, and there was such they really felt they'd achieved something. And I don't think there's anything wrong with working. You're an art, you all, if you want to be songwriters, you're all artists, and there's no law to say that an artist doesn't have to have a job. You know, you're stronger, I think, personally, if you take that pressure away from your art. I think you'll do better art in the long run if you can get a part-time job like 2 days a week or something. Yeah, they're supposed to skive off and do it.
Do you know what's hard?
Winners wrote all these songs building toilets.
I think you say that, but I know a lot of artists who really struggle with working full time or like 4 days a week, and then having the kind of creative juice, vitality, being rested enough, and having the kind of mental, creative, emotional space to create after that. You know, they get home on a Friday night and they just want to. And I know, there's a point of like, if you love it, you push it, and that's true, that's totally true. But I know people that then, they'll take a week off work, and what happens when they're rested is so different creatively to what happens when they're having to work 5 days a week.
But that's really, if you're taking it in the whole scheme of things, what's even worse is like, if you're literally like, right, I have 3, Peace, I interviewed them the other day, and they were like, the first European tour we did, we were losing so much money because the tour was costing us so much money to even do that we didn't even have enough money to buy ourselves McDonald's like as our one meal of the day, so we just had sides. And I just had this image of Peace sitting Berlin on the floor all having like a packet of chips each as their one meal of the day, and it's like that is going to do you more damage in the long run than being like a bit tired. And it's like I know it can take longer, but in the whole scheme of psychological balance relatively of actually like being content and being able to function. I mean, we spoke about this on the phone, Patrick, but you know, mental health in the music industry is a really, really tricky thing, especially now when people are making less money from like the actual sales of their music and having to tour more. And Benga, you know, bless his soul, spoke really bravely about this a couple of weeks ago in the press, and especially when, as a musician, as a creative, you have to develop this ego, this personality, and that's your brand, and that's what people are buying into and selling. Talking about something like how hard touring non-stop is, and working all weird hours in the studio is, and how much of a drain physically and emotionally it is. You're laying yourself so raw and open. We need to be a bit kinder in our industry to people about that.
I do think it is. I know what you say, but you do have to make a sacrifice as an artist, and your standard of living does have to go down. It really does. If you really are serious about making it, in a way, you do have to make that sacrifice, and that's what often. I mean, me personally, I think great art comes from that that struggle. Like the art that I like, it's all people who've struggled to make their art. You know, Bonobo, he made his first album on an Atari computer, and then it broke halfway through. He borrowed my Atari to do that. He didn't have money to go and get another one, and in a way. You know, you look at his studio now and it's like, you know, it looks amazing. You know, I don't know how much it costs, but in a way, he's achieved all of that by making a massive sacrifice. He lived in a rubbish flat in Brighton on a really dodgy main road where all the people taking heroin used to live. You know, he wasn't one of those guys, but he was like, this is what I'm going to do to try and get to the point that I need to get. And I think as an artist, it's so important to make that sacrifice. If you're not fortunate, if you've got parents who've got can help you do it, then don't be ashamed of that and borrow the money, but you can't do it for too long. I think it's important you've got to do that for you and try and achieve something, but don't compromise your art. That's the one thing. That's what I've seen. The ones who don't compromise their art to do that always are the ones that I've seen have ended up making a living from doing their music. Yeah, definitely.
And because ultimately, if you fail or you succeed, at least you're like, yeah, but I stand by this. You know, I stand by this, and I'm proud of this. Whereas if you make some load of crap anyway, and you're like, I'm not successful, and I made a load of crap. Well, this is, I didn't even express who I was, what I was really trying to say. But ultimately, the people that do, that's when you're like, wow, that. That's what makes me stop in my track of listening through 5,000 songs that day. I was like. This, oh my God, it just, you close your eyes and you soak it in, you're like, this is unique, this is special, people are going to pay attention to this. It might not be critically well acclaimed, but it's like, that's what's going to make me play something on the radio. And that's probably what's going to make, you sign them to a label.
Yeah. I've noticed the time, so I had another question, but thank you for your honest appraisals on that one. There's a few minutes to kind of open it up if there are any specific questions, and thank you for your contributions so far. So if anybody would like to pose any questions. There's always that awkward moment, isn't there, when you ask for questions.
Have any of you ever used Music X-Ray? You were talking about bouncing songs off people, and there are services out there where you can... Nick, didn't you used to be part of Music X-Ray? Did you do that? Where they have almost in-house experts, and they'll sit there and they'll get, you probably got like 500 bad MP3s a day, right? And you have to sit through all of those. I still don't know if that stuff works or not, really. I mean, they gave Public Enemy's basis the Golden Ears Award in Barcelona this year because he identified loads of really good stuff. I'm always interested in anyone that's used anything like that, or you signed anyone for anything like that.
No,
I'm so old school with stuff like that.
Yeah, I listen to everything direct, and most of the stuff is stuff that's been sent to me and people hassling me to listen to the music, or it does come through recommendation, like a trusted source. So, if Quantix pass something on, or an artist that I know said, have you heard this artist, and then I'll check them out and then I'll approach them. But a lot of the stuff we sign is just artists sending me music.
Yeah.
So,
I think as well, the talk you were saying about the nature of collaboration and finding people to collaborate. especially somewhere like London, which is flooded with music spaces and creative spots just to hang out. Just like go and hang out, like go support our live music scene, support our club scene, like go and meet people and just real life, you know. I think there's a lot to be said for that. You can pick up on the energy so much more than just sort of like over, I was about to say MySpace. You know, just feel it in real life time.
Get out there and do.
I think it's a combination of both. I mean, 5 years ago I was going around all the record labels telling them that data was really important to what they did. And they went, oh look, we're too cool for that. You know, we choose stuff because it's cool and blah, blah, blah. And now they all talk about, oh, we'd be dead without this data. So I think there's kind of a bit of a mixture of both. And some really great records have been recorded by people that never met. Like Foreign Exchange, you know, and Fontaine and stuff like that. So I think there's a bit of both is probably the best approach to it. But yeah, I mean, the music X-ray type thing, which is always interested if anyone's ever used it.
For me, I like to be in the room with people, you know. I do like that, you know. And trying to critique over email, that's even worse than, you know, being in the room, I think, you know, it can be, I don't know how to do that. But, so I do like, you know, music for me as well, in the kind of music that I'm into making and the way in which I like to work with people. It's also seeing about their physicality, the way they move, the way they talk, about it. You know, there's all these things that are just these things that are about having to be in the same space with someone that are important for me. There are certain types of music where maybe it might be less important, but you know, there's that for me is definitely the ultimate. I would also say, you know, am I echoing what's been said by my colleagues to the left, is that, you know, there's a way sometimes this industry can make you feel like it's about trying to, you know, can you help me? Where can I get help? When I can, you know, and where do I need help? You know, and who am I going to, you know, and you feel like you're asking and begging all the time. It's awful. It's really awful. Whereas I think you can really flip the way that you think about this industry and actually getting alongside other people and finding ways saying, oh, you do that, okay, can I give you this, or maybe let's play together. You know, I play guitar. You know, would you like to? If you're offering something, it's a lot easier to get into a collab situation than if you're trying to get something. Yeah, it's so easy to get into collaborating if you've got something to offer. Oh yeah, I'll do you need someone to sing a song? I'll sing a song. There you go. I'm straight away in the studio. I haven't paid for the studio time. I might even get some free studio time out of this. Hello, you know, like find ways that you can get, you know, it's like offering your skills and or exchange. I'm all for skills trading now, you know, and I'm, you know, sometimes that's how I manage to, you know, get someone to maybe rework a song or you know, say, look, okay, maybe we can work for this. I can do something for you. Skills trading now. And also something that, you know, in terms of songwriting, I think, you know, it's worth mentioning that, you know, the digital age has impacted songwriting and songwriting revenues a big extent. Just, you know, maybe not as much as the recording side, but maybe Rob, you can fill us in a bit more with this, but it certainly has impacted revenues as for songwriters, you know, certainly from what PRS is sending me these days.
I have to say, for us as a label, it's Spotify is, you know, I was very cynical about it, but our artists are making a decent amount of money from Spotify nowadays with that tiny percentage, and that's really shocked me. You know, so it seems to be, you know, there are ways that you can earn a living from music and doing what you do, but you have to take care. I'm the business side of this rather than creative, but you've really got to pick up those £50 here, the £20 here, and at the end of the year, they really all add up, and it's really, I just see those, the ones that get a negative £20 royalty statement compared to the ones that get a, you know, positive £50 statement. It makes a difference to think you're actually, my music is earning money, and it really motivates them in a way. And it's not about money grabbing. It's just not being ashamed to make a living from good music. You know, plenty of people make a great living from terrible music. If you want to make good music, you know, it's great if you can make £10 from it, or £100 or £1,000. You know, be proud of yourself for doing it. Don't be ashamed.
Yeah, thank you. Yeah, I'm going to bring the discussion slightly to a head there, because one of the things about our competition for RVL Productions is that this is about supporting independent artists. This is about supporting new and original music and offering songwriters. Potentially the top prize for our contest is going to be a £50,000 top prize. So this is a way to encourage and nurture the songwriters of our generation, new and established songwriters. So it's kind of picking up just kind of on Rob's last point there about making a good living out of music. RVL Productions is looking forward to being able to support songwriters in the future. I'm going to have to bring our conversation and discussion to a close now. We have Twitter hashtags that we are trying to put out there for saluting songwriting, and our handle is RVL Pro. So please do kind of send out a couple of tweets to your audiences if you can to help promote, and you've got a taste of what it is that we're trying to do in terms of engaging very honestly with songwriting and kind of bringing it out of some of the kind of shadier, I don't want to use that expression, so some of the sort of unseen, to bring the music and the songwriters out from behind the scenes and give them more of a platform. So yeah, to facilitate the goals and ambitions of artists, the contest that we're looking to put forward is going to be a massive platform to support and encourage songwriting talent, and it's going to be a great opportunity for us to engage with audiences across the nation, and to facilitate both on terrestrial television and online with our own audience platform, engagement platform, streaming platform, to as many people as we can to bring incredible new music to them as we move forward. Again, thank you very much for coming. There's going to be a few more drinks and a bit more food for us to enjoy before the end of the night. Got a few more minutes now before we have to leave the room. So thank you very much to our panel as well. And yeah, thank you very much.
To reiterate what Patrick just said, and thanking the panel, thanks for an enlightening discussion. I think it was quite revealing in terms of what our ambition is RVL. Eska, something that you said reminded me of something that one of my friends told me. He was into sort of Buddhism and practice like that. Not to get too hippie, but it was about being the flower and not the bee. And that's what this is about for us tonight. So it's about us just showing what our intentions are, what we're trying to do, why we're different from what's already out there, that we actually do have some muscles to flex in the sense that we have this platform already set up, and adding TV is the next part of this. So we're really keen to engage in those dialogues, and if you've got anything that you'd like to say to help us further what it is that we're trying to do, then I'll be delighted to speak to you about that, as with Patrick and our other partners. So, all right, thank you very much, and enjoy a drink.